This is IGN. An action-adventure game that pushes you to really pay attention to the world around you. This is your IGN review of Hell Is Us by Jada Griffin. The old cliche is that war never changes, but what happens when the hellish actions of war manifest as monsters that trap people in time loops of their worst deeds? Well, even then, it turns out the cruelty of mankind itself is still worse than any supernatural destruction, and Hell Is Us uses its fantastical near-future setting to take a dark, authentic look at the horrors of war. While the actual act of fighting your way through the monsters of this devastated nation isn't doing much that's new to the action-adventure genre, Hell Is Us kept me entertained throughout my 38-hour adventure nonetheless. Its combat is simple but satisfying, and its world is full of puzzles that push you to really pay attention, which makes for a campaign filled with intrigue, grief, and sometimes a little frustration. Hell Is Us is equal parts exploration, combat, and puzzle solving. It's a familiar formula if you've played games like God of War or Resident Evil before, but roaming the fictional country of Hadia as Remy, an exile smuggled out of the country as a child, proved to be a different kind of challenge. You're told up front that there is no map, waypoint system, or indication of where to go next. I had to retrain my brain in the early hours of Hell Is Us as I adapted to how it does things, like I was riding a bike without training wheels for the first time. While frustrating at first, that annoyance seemed to fade away around the midpoint of Act 1, and I could feel myself more quickly pinpointing the necessary clues I needed to progress. What starts as a quest for answers about Remy's missing family, his whole reason for returning to Hadia, quickly becomes a series of puzzles and scavenger hunts that reveal a bigger picture. With both that mystery and a large number of items to collect, the lack of a traditional map or waypoint system meant I found it almost mandatory to keep physical notes on what I had seen. That was especially true as I assembled a lengthy list of puzzles and NPCs that required specific items I had yet to find, with some items that wouldn't even become available until later portions of the story. It's almost impossible not to draw parallels between the horrors portrayed throughout Remy's journey and current events happening in the real world. Hadia's towns are ravaged by war, filled with imagery of civilian executions and propaganda as two fictional races of people, the Palomas and Sabinians, constantly blame the other for everything wrong in the world. Add in the rise of those terrifying new hollow creatures, which are impervious to traditional weapons, and it culminates in a believable alternate history with horrors rooted in our own. Combat not quite scratching the itch I hoped it would was a consistent theme throughout most of Hell Is Us. It has all the staples you'd expect in an action-adventure game: attack combos, charge attacks, parries, dodges, and special abilities that improve both your weapons, and a drone that fights alongside you. But while it has the ingredients of a great combat system, they never come together to make something more impressive than the sum of those parts. Hell Is Us also takes a different approach to healing while in combat. Dealing damage refills your health, but only if you cash in after landing an attack or combo without taking damage. This was a double-edged sword for me, and it's an interestingly unique system, but one that meant I would not often worry about how much damage I was taking because I knew that landing one or two combos would be enough to heal me back up in a pinch. Hell Is Us has a blend of exploration, puzzles, and combat that, while familiar, pushes you to really pay attention to the world around you in a way that's both compelling and occasionally frustrating. Its stark approach to quest and map tracking forces you to use your own powers of observation and take notes to solve its challenges, and the puzzles littered throughout the world kept me on my toes more than action-adventure games like this typically do. Though its lack of enemy variety and fairly straightforward combat mean the action sections don't stack up in the same way, though there are enough tools in Remy's arsenal to at least have a good time while taking down its monsters. Hell Is Us doesn't shy away from showing the dark reality of a country ravaged by war while doing so, as well as how the worst parts of humanity are, in the end, more harrowing than our most terrifying nightmares. It holds up a mirror to us and the world we live in, pushing the boundaries of its own audience's discomfort in a way that will stick with me past any of its fights. Jada Griffin gives Hell Is Us an IGN score of 7 out of 10. Thanks for listening to IGN. My name is Tony Jackson, and for the latest updates on Hell Is Us, visit us at IGN.com.
Spoken Layer.